Hello and welcome back to the Busy Bee with ADHD podcast. My name is Haley Honeyman and this is season 3. I am finally back. It has been almost a year since my last episode. Truth be told, I was focusing on other things and now I am back and I'm excited to be back and just yap with you. We are joined today by my shed in my backyard. Why am I filming out here today? I don't know. If you're listening to audio, I am sitting in my shed. This is where we're doing this episode. If you want to watch the full episode, you can go over to my YouTube channel. And if you're on my YouTube channel and you want to watch this on the go, you can go over to Spotify and watch there. We're also joined by my dog today, who's going to be hanging around the backyard. So if you hear barking, that is why. I have made such a long list of things that I want to talk about over the next coming weeks, but today I thought it would be hilarious to go back to some of the ideas I had years ago. And one of those I wrote down in a document that just says, "Why I Dated Losers." I thought this was such a funny concept for me to deep dive into. And so I wanted to do that today with you. Why did I date losers? And maybe, just maybe, you relate to some of these things and maybe you're doing them right now and don't even know it. And so maybe I can provide some insight into why you're making bad choices for yourself and how maybe to go about changing those things. For this conversation, I need to go back to my childhood because everything is rooted there, right? I don't know about you, but when I sit in therapy and we're talking about something and she goes, "Well, how did this relate to your childhood?" And I just go, "Oh, can we, let's not talk about that again." And then I realize that literally every negative thing that I do for myself is rooted in something from my childhood. That's so fun, isn't that? Love that. I had a very privileged childhood too, so it is wild how many things still root back to that. Looking back though, growing up, I was the only daughter and there were some really high expectations of me because of some complicated things within the family. You know how it goes. But because of those expectations, I essentially learned over years and years and years that my worth really came from being successful and succeeding and being perceived as successful, even if deep down, I knew that I wasn't okay and I wasn't actually doing well, but the perception of me being successful was what I was going for because that's what I was praised for. And when it came to dating, this same concept followed me where if I didn't feel like I was more successful than my partner, I didn't feel adequate to be dating them. Does that make sense? Because that was a wild concept for me to break down for myself. I was specifically, subconsciously seeking out people that were not as successful as me because it threatened me. If I were to date someone that I perceived as more successful, that challenged my belief of my self-worth, which is so wild. And I will say that I have been deconstructing over the last year or so. What does success even mean? Because my belief of success, like I said, is rooted in my childhood. And other people see their success completely differently than how I see it. For a long time, I saw it as financial, and I wasn't financially successful for a very long time. It took many, many years and going paycheck to paycheck and really struggling to get to where I am now. But I also now see success as your ability to live life in a relaxing way and not stressed all of the time. And there's so much more to success. And now I'm realizing that the partners that I was dating in their careers maybe were not as successful I was, but maybe they flourished in other ways. They didn't because I was dating full losers. But maybe the case for yourself is that you have a partner that career-wise is a lot further along than you are, and maybe you're perceiving that as them being more successful than you. Or maybe you perceive success as someone's fulfillment in their relationships and they have really strong relationships, but you don't. And you perceive that as being more successful than you. So that was the first thing I identified, was that I was choosing people that didn't challenge my belief of my worth through success. Wild. Going back to the childhood piece, I know that for myself, growing up, I watched a relationship between my parents that wasn't always the happiest. They ended up getting divorced when I was 18. And I think that divorce was a long time coming, a really long time coming. And I think it only happened when it did, because I was finally out of school and it seemed like more logical, I guess, for the family. But there were a lot of sacrifices that went in there. And because of that, I just witnessed a relationship and love as, not always being happy, and not actually frequently not being happy within your relationship. And that really informed how I saw the relationships that I was in, because, I saw myself struggling in my relationships and always trying and it never feeling easy, but that felt like the norm because that's what I saw growing up. So yeah, always links back to the childhood. That's so fun. I can't wait to dole out more money to my therapist to deep dive into this. But I truly recommend trying to consider, where does your perception of love come from and what is that perception? Because I think it's really different for a lot of people. So that's what mine was. The last one that I really want to deep dive into circles back to being undiagnosed ADHD and autistic for so long. Because I was undiagnosed, I was frequently in my childhood and in my teenage years, and then in my relationships as an adult, I was frequently undermined or undervalued, or I wasn't believed a lot of the times. And I was framed to be lying a lot. And it was rough. Like growing up, I would have these huge meltdowns, and the response I would get would be, you're being over dramatic, or you're making this up, or you just want attention, all of these things, right? And so I heard that in my childhood. When I got into relationships and I had partners that would lie to me and hide things from me and cheat on me and whatever, their response was, oh, you're making it up, you're being over dramatic, you just want attention, which is why you're making such a big deal out of this. And it mirrored the same messaging I was receiving as a kid. And so it felt natural. It felt like a safe place for me because that was the safety I felt in childhood. And so, yeah, in these relationships, I allowed them to treat me so poorly because it mirrored the messaging I had heard for so long, which is so sad. Hey, can we talk about that for a sec? So sad. So sad. My first long-term partner, who I was with for 4 years, I think the reason that I was with this partner for so long, he was a really, really wonderful person. And he was so patient. He was so patient with me. And so he allowed me to have these meltdowns without, becoming too worked up himself, and was able to just hold space for me. And that was a really positive relationship. And he was probably the only person that I ever dated prior to this current partner who I would not classify as a loser. But the one thing that was missing in that relationship was a really deep romantic connection. And so when I went to my next relationship, I was only looking for a romantic connection, and I kind of forgot how important all of the other things were because he so easily gave that to me that it felt like, oh, everyone's just going to give that to me, which was not the case. That next partner was, that one was bad. And having come from a world in which I was so frequently ignored, my problems were just so frequently ignored. When I sought out a new partner, I honestly think I was looking for someone that was in my mind, more fucked up than I was, so that I could help them. I could be the person that I wanted, if that makes sense. And so the partners that I then proceeded to date, the next 3 people that I proceeded to date, had so much growth that they needed to do for themselves. And the honest truth was they weren't going to do it for themselves and needed a push from somebody. And I interjected myself into their lives to be that person because, again, looking back, I wish that someone had been there for me, which is sad. And the only way that I really resolved that over the years was by taking matters into my own hands and ensuring that I had all of the support systems that I could ever need, and that I wouldn't need to rely on a partner or feel like I needed to fix a person to be with them. My current partner is one of the most secure, wonderful people I have ever met, one of the most masculine men I have ever met, but also so soft and wonderful. And, he went to therapy before me. And so when he went back to therapy, it didn't feel like he was only doing it for me. It was something that he has done before and continues to do for himself, and that I don't have to save him. There's nothing to save. He's doing the work on himself he has needed to do. And it's really, there's so much discomfort that comes with that, though. I will say it has taken some time for me to kind of settle into this relationship, because in prior relationships, I've felt safety in my partner needing my help, and this partner doesn't. And that is so interesting. And it's allowing me to honestly soften into accepting more support myself. And that's been a wild, wild thing to practice and attain. So if you are a person that feels like you date people for potential, stop. Stop doing that. There are so many people out there that are you don't need to wait for their potential to grow. They're already there. And I think I had convinced myself that those people didn't exist. And then I met my partner and I'm like, oh, you're there. You're doing the things. I don't have to coach you. You're doing it yourself. And that didn't happen overnight. It took me years of being with partners that were so bad for me. Looking back, it took me 4 years of dating different people to really gain that knowledge and understanding that, hey, dating someone for their potential is never going to work out. And I cannot drill that in your brain enough. Dating someone for their potential is never going to work. I cannot say that enough. And I find myself saying that to people now because I think it's such a frequent problem, especially for neurodivergent people that want to support and help someone because we wanted that ourselves. So take matters into your own hands when it comes to supporting yourself, finding systems outside of your partner, and dating someone that you are interested in now. Currently has all of the qualities that you could possibly want. Everyone has growth to do, but when it's deal breaker growth, it's a deal breaker. Go. I had so many moments in previous relationships where I was like, oh, this is such a deal breaker. And then I would stay because I thought they'd fix it. And then, surprise, they didn't. So there you go. Those are some of the reasons that I have dated losers in the past. And I think the biggest thing that has helped me to date someone that really, really is just so incredible and wonderful has been the work that I have done on myself and unapologetically looked for support myself. And to be cutthroat and brutal and to not feel like I am doing someone a favor by dating them. Whoa, not doing someone a favor by dating them. That comes off really arrogant and narcissistic, but that is how I felt a lot of the time. Because again, that just validated the fact that I was worthy, I was enough, because this person felt like they hadn't done as much work as me and they hadn't, they have so much more to do and I would be able to be there with them. So there you go. Those are some reasons I've dated losers. I am so curious if you relate to any of these things, and if you have any advice for anyone that's listening. What would you do? What would you do if someone came to you and told you that they're dating someone that they're dating for potential and they have all of these issues? I want to hear. Comment below, and if you're on Spotify, jump over to YouTube, comment below. I would love to hear what were some of the things that you did to get out of that cycle of dating losers. And and maybe what are the things that you still struggle with in that? I don't know how frequently I'm going to do these yet, but I would love to hear if this is a format you want to see more of. Do we like the shed? If not, I'll go elsewhere. As always, if no one has told you yet, I am so proud of you for putting in the work to yourself, because nobody else is going to do it for you. So it's pretty fucking cool. You're doing it for yourself. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.